Hey, we're gonna get going here this week. I gotta tell you, up in Wisconsin today, it's a nice day. We're gonna get close to 60 degrees, and so you can see even wore short sleeves today as I'm thinking spring. So we're excited. Snows away. Like I said, it's gonna be soon, and we're gonna have stuff out in the fields. But let's get to the markets in here right now. The Russia-Ukraine situation still is the big story out there right now, and we need to acknowledge that. And I guess, for me, the one comment about the whole Russia economy goes back to John McCain, where he said, look, Russia's a gas station masquerading as a country. It's corruption. It's a nation that's really only dependent upon oil and gas for their economy. And I really agree with that comment, and we've seen some volatility in the crude oil and natural gas market. But the one thing we need to acknowledge from an ag perspective is that Russia's a big player in the global wheat trade as well. So we would say they're maybe a gas station, but also a major influence on the wheat market. Recently, though, from the high to the low, the crude oil market has dropped off around $30 a barrel. I mean, we went above 120 on crude oil, and what really happened is there was some panic buying out there. The U.S. announced sanctions against Russia and banning oil. But in the meantime, what's going on is Russia still has this oil out there. And in the course of the war, in the early part of it, Shell actually bought a tanker of crude oil from Russia at a $20 discount to the world market. And now this week, we're seeing both China and India working deals with Russia to bring in crude oil. Now, we can't find what the price difference is, but Russia needs the money. India and China need crude oil. We wouldn't be surprised if Russia was selling their crude oil at anywhere from a $15 to a $30 discount to the world market. I can't agree with what Putin is doing in Russia. Many people in the world probably can't. But if you're buying crude oil, we have to admit there's some nations out there that are going to buy it at that lower price. This brings us back to wheat then. 10, 15 years ago, Russia was raising more and more wheat, and how do they become competitive on the world market? Well, you lower the price. That's what they did. Russia became a major player. If they have a dollar to a $1.50 discount to world competitors, at that point, no matter the political opinion of what's going on, Russia will move out onto the world market. As we flip over to Ukraine, we get many questions on what is it like in Ukraine. I mean, we need to remember their planting season is really similar to us. Their big crop on the export market is sunflowers. It's reported that Ukraine exports around 50% of the world's sunflowers. We have the production from 2021 in front of us. They produced a little over 1.2 billion bushels of wheat, exported 735 million bushels. And on the corn side of it, they produced 1.65 billion bushels and exported just shy of 1.1 billion. With the issues there, we're seeing estimates out of Ukraine that if they could get maybe 2/3 of their corn crop planted this year, given the war, that might be pretty good. You'd lower that production down then into the 1 to 1.1 billion bushel range. They need to use stuff domestically, so you'd expect their exports next year to decline. We're going to move ahead here to the U.S. markets, and I just put definitions out, and you can come back here on both volume and open interest. And volume is a number of contracts that are traded every single day. And I want to go to our first chart in here right now, and this is the July corn chart on the daily volume. And yesterday, we only traded 43,000 contracts of July corn. That was the lowest daily volume on July corn in more than 3 weeks. What bothers us here is this lower volume is telling us that speculators have less interest in trading in this corn market. When we get a bullish market, we typically have increasing volume, decreasing volume. Usually the markets struggle. If I go over to the bean chart, a July bean chart, it had its lowest daily volume since January 25th. Okay, that big spike up on here, that was February 24th. That was the first day of the Ukraine-Russia war. Again, just like corn, this bean volume is declining as well. When I get over to Chicago wheat, we are seeing decline in volume in here. The first spike up was February 24th. The second spike up was March 2nd. Chicago wheat didn't put their contract high into March 8th. But just like corn and beans, we're seeing this declining volume, and if we don't have that speculative interest in the market, we become a little bit more concerned. This is a trend that needs to be watched. Here we're going to wrap it up in here. When we look at volume, we want to get towards commercials. A couple of weeks ago, commercials started switching their bids on old crop corn from the May to the July contract. We think as we get closer to spring planting, you could even see these bids shift off to the new crop DEES or the NOLV contracts. On wheat, they moved bids from the July to September. The basis is widening as well, and the biggest reason is the cost of risk management, not only for you, but the grain elevators as well, and they're trying to pass that cost on with a wider basis. Now, when we wrap this all up together, the lower volume and commercials moving out further, the commercials aren't going to be interested in these front month contracts as much. It's going to be more speculative driven. If they step in here and buy, sure, we just don't have that commercial interest underneath the market. That's a big red flag to us. To sum it all up, declining volume is not bullish. This might only be a couple-day trend in here, but the increase in margin requirements, it is a concern for us and something we are really watching. We had a number of questions in here on how call spreads work. Instead of doing one long webinar in here, we're going to look at following this up and later in the week on doing a webinar on how those call spreads would work combined with some cash sales. Any questions or suggestions on webinars, feel free to let us know. Have a great day.